welcome back again. Thanks everybody for all the likes and subscribing that's been going on. Thanks for all the feedback, the comments. I'm surprised how quickly it's sort of taken off and how much interest it's had, but it's really appreciated. This video, to jump straight into it, is a Howlite stone in a silver and yellow gold pendant. It's going to include basic bezel making, wrapping around the stone, some step rolling for the outer side, and soldering the gold to the silver. So we'll just get straight into it. All starts with a normal piece of silver strip. So this one's 4mm, as you can see. See that 0.85 is the most important bit there. With this being 4mm wide, I actually got two stones the same, and I want to do something else with the other one at some stage for somebody else. So this one you could have used 2mm wide, but as you'll see later, this one I will actually be cutting in half down the seam. So I start with just where it's quite thick, it's quite tough to wrap it around the oval stone. As you can see, a bit of force, you can get it round there, and then just to cut the main, like the very first section. So straight after this, I know it's roughly the right size, so I'll be able to solder it. You see here from like the bending, I always normally sort of just pull it over a little bit, put a bit of tension there, so when I pull it back again, I can tuck the end down, and it'll just sort of butt up next to each other quite well. And this one happened to go first time. So sometimes you might have to do like another little saw cut just to get that line to fit. That's normal, that this is quite rare it goes first time. And then just normal soldering. Every bit of soldering in this video is going to be hard solder. I never use anything less, or like any of the medium or the easy. Don't worry about too much solder on top, because this whole bit, as you'll see later, just gets buffed up or filed and buffed up. So I'm just skimming out the inside of the main collet until I can push the stone in so it's quite tight. It doesn't need to be super tight. If the stone just falls in there, but within reason, you can still get away with pushing the edges over and getting a nice sort of firm fit. But this would be sort of cleaned out a little bit more, and as time goes on, that stone will sit in there easier anyway. So this is the first time on the channel that I've actually done a bit of step rolling. So the first bit I'm marking out is the bit that I want to leave at that thickness. This was about 4.5mm square wire. I'm milling the sides down to about 2.7, 2.8ish. It doesn't have to be super exact, it's just about getting that taper. Just about getting the taper from the centre to both sides. So I'll use the strip bender. Well, after I've done this, you'll be able to get this from the 4mm, 4.5 to the just under 3mm, all in one go without annealing. But by the time this is done, we'll do have to anneal it, because we've got to force it around quite a tight curve, especially if you've tried bending 4.5mm square into a tight curve. It can be tough, even with the ring, like the strip bender. It takes a lot of force to get it around there. So of course we have to anneal it. We have to get that out of the way. This is the same technique as I'd use for doing engagement rings as well. Whether it's going to be something that's going to have wider shoulders, or if it's going to be something that's fat at the back, going up into something finer. But this you'll see in a lot of future videos, especially when I start doing some rings, when I sort of going on, especially when I get onto some more advanced techniques, and they will be coming. I've opened up the server, but some people might be familiar with Discord. It's saying that a lot of people use for gaming, for various game servers, talking online, but it's something that you can add pictures onto. So I have opened up a Discord server, so hopefully when sort of subscriber numbers get bigger as well, I'll be able to sort of build my own little sort of friendly community, where a lot of you will be able to share pictures with other people and maybe get some feedback off of other people that are trying to learn at the same time. Even a place where you can sort of show pictures of if you've tried doing similar things. It'd be interesting to see how other people's sort of similar work comes out. So this one you'll see I'm gradually closing up. I've tried to include as much of this in the video as possible. So in a second you'll see me solder it, but I did actually do one more cut through and bend just to get it in line. But it's just like the other video I done was sort of 40 odd minutes, and I just didn't want to have a long drawn out video for everybody. If anyone can give me feedback as well in the comments, just let me know if you think I talk too much, if you'd rather me just do a voiceover on its own, maybe just do an intro at the beginning, and then sort of with like video me, and then just doing the voiceover throughout, or just the or just labels on the video, sort of with descriptions. So you see, once this is pickled, once it's got the flux off, this is just hammering down to the front end. You see, I do hammer around the back. So this will hammer down to about 2.5, 2.6. So then the whole thing is going to be at a level. So even that fat end, by the time that comes down, it's going to be as thin as the back side. And even this bit, I've cut a few little bits out of this video, mainly just because the actual sort of outer bezel just kept popping out the pliers, which is completely normal. I'm surprised no one's mentioned in the videos yet, when you see my bench peg, even for years, well for decades, whenever I've sort of worked somewhere new, someone's come up to me and said, oh, you've got your pegging upside down. So I always have the flat bit on top, so just find it easier for actually cutting out a flat sheet. So many people, especially UK, have the slope bit going downwards. You see, even when I have the flat at the top, at the very front of the peg, I'll do the slope going down. So I have like a bit of both there. So I've cut some of this video out as well. This is basically just keep cutting around after you've marked out the centre until it comes apart. This was probably about 4 minutes of video footage. It was just too boring to add in. But after you've got this bit, I'm just sand it flat. It's nice, want it nice and flush. And then again, even though both these parts have been soldered up with hard solder, use hard solder again. And I'll keep saying that. It's something that I'm sort of quite serious about. I just never like going to the easy solders. So this I'll put a bit on from both sides. But as I've said before, melted solder or liquid metal always goes towards the heat. So as long as the blowtorch is one way, put the soldering on the opposite, it will just find its way whether it wants to go left or right. It'll always drag around. Personally, if I wasn't videoing this, because it is on a turntable, I would hold the torch and actually turn it. But being that it's videoing, it just works out easier just doing a couple of bits, just so I could keep the camera focused, well, as focused as possible. So I notice this week I've been losing my voice a little bit, so I'm just trying to, obviously I've got to talk, but I'm trying to save my voice as well. So after you got to this stage, you can see quite clearly it's a nice solder join. It's never coming open. And this part, I'm literally just evening up that arc. So one of the crescent shapes, it's thin, going thick, going up to the top. Eventually, it will be flush at the top, ready for the gold pendant belt to sort of be there. There will be future videos where I usually try and do it all in one video. I'll try and make some mistakes and show you how to like unsolder pieces, which can get a bit sweaty hands and get a bit panicky. But it can be done with quite a few things. So on this part, just one of my normal files up to this stage, a cut 0 half round hand file, just cut a 45-degree angle and just curving it all the way around, just to get the initial part. And then basically I'll tilt the file back, just to take off that sharp part, and then the top part from the back to the 45, tilt up the other way a little bit, just to take that edge off. And also with I'll go onto the cut to sort of 20 centimetre rep file, or safety back. I'm not sure what other countries call it. But this will really just, I'm aiming for like a ball nose finish. It's like very curved. You might see them in the thumbnail. There you go. Yes, on the actual collar, you notice I'm taking it quite a bit underneath as well there. It just helps when you get to the buffing, if you can have it as even as possible. Yeah, but again from the thumbnail you notice the curve of the actual polished finish is very neat. It's very sort of directional from left to right. If at this stage you end up sort of over filing top on one bit, overdoing it underneath on the other side, by the time you get into the buff, you don't notice until you've polished it that you might have like a wobbly or a curved sort of polished line, more like a reflection from around the room. But you'll notice it coming over. But for this I'll always use a 400 grit sandpaper to start with. I find the hardest bit of this is the actual setting. So it takes it out of your elbows a little bit. So this is just a bit of gold strip. Again, this was about 0.75 mil actual strip. So I've got a really noisy chair. Being at the 9-carat gold, the same as whether you've got using 9-carat or 10-carat, it's mainly copper. Copper and silver in there, but the amount of copper that's in it makes it really springy. Pretty much the same as when you get up to the 14-carat as well. It's always got a bit of resistance there, especially when you're trying to pull it around a tight curve. You see when I solder this as well, again it's yellow gold hard solder, just because wherever you get your bullion and your solder products from, you probably find they've got a data sheet that will give you the sort of temperatures, like melting temperatures of all of the solders. So again, just a normal flux, same as always, heating from the back a little bit and straight in. And gold with silver, it's an overall heating, warming up the whole thing gently so the whole thing gets to temperature, because the bit that you're soldering you want the same colour on both sides so that solder can, when it flows, it will bond to both bits. It's only palladium and platinum that it's quite happy to sort of short, sharp flame straight into the join. Silver and gold likes a nice yellow flame, with like less oxygen in it. So something like this, after it's been cleaned and pickled, I'll just use the cut to barrette file once again. If anyone would be interested, sort of see, just more like a little, be more sort of boring really, just like a little guided tour of my actual studio, sort of like going around like the main perimeter, just so you can see the setup and how I've got things. If anyone would be interested in that, just comment below and let me know. It might be something that I could do a couple of shorts on even, and just sort of let people know they're there. Yeah, just to be nosy really. Just to sort of compare with like your own setups. You notice the end of this buff stick as well, I usually just get my piercing saw and just cut off a slice, just to make it thinner. Just helps you get into like little sort of narrow recesses and gaps. So that this one's far from the final polish. This is, like I said before, when I'm sort of buffing, I just want to see that I've got that perimeter quite even. So that it just helps me do that. Just before I get the stone in. So you think at this stage where there's no stone, I can just put the whole pendant onto the corner of my bench peg and just cane into it again. But when the stone's there, it makes it a little bit fiddlier to hold. So with this burr, I think this was like a 6mm round burr, and that's just flaring out like both sides of the pendant bowl, which will be polished later before the chain goes through. Even before I send out link the Discord links into the bottom, if anyone has any problems or wants to ask any questions, just keep firing questions over, and I'll normally answer quickish. Obviously I'm on UK time, but yeah, I'll try and answer everything. Even bad criticism, just fire it over. It's all good. Yes, you see my pusher. This one is it's just an old, not that it's relevant, but it's a cut to, but just an old 20cm needle file that I've literally put the bottom 3 inches in the vise that I want to keep, done the vise up, got a hammer, smashed off the top, put a little stone setter's wooden mushroom handle on top, and just filed the end down to a square. And this sort of pusher, it's it just works out so much better than most of those ones you buy. Quite often the ones you buy are those big wide things, more for when people use that silly fine silver bezel strip that's like about 0.3 or 0.2, but it's you find that this is just a lot more accurate, and because it's narrower at the end, when you're pushing, it's the same as like if someone stamped on your foot with trainers on, their heel isn't really going to hurt you much because it's quite a wide impact. Whereas if someone that's wearing stilettos or like high heels, if they stood on your sort of toes, it's going to hurt. It's that if it's like the same weight. So that's why a pusher narrower at the end just helps you so much. At some stage I'll do some of those little invisible set, sort of gypsy set, we call it over here. Say like little 1mm or 2mm diamonds, but those ones I use with a broken drill bit or like little ball burr. They're sort of broken off at the end and just diamond sanded, and those are only about 1.4mm down to 1mm at the end, but just with a little flat, and that makes a lot of setting so much easier for this sort of thing. Normally when I set, it's probably been a few years since I really do a lot of this by hand. Quite often I've just got the the Fordham hammer handpiece. I don't even know if you'll be able to see that on the camera, there, quite far away. But yeah, quite often I'll use the hammer handpiece or the air-driven handpiece in GRS or Graver-Mac tools. It's only because I know a lot of people watching this are probably learning still or just wanting to see other techniques. But I know a lot of people aren't going to have a Graver-Mac machine, you know. Obviously, a Fordham handpiece is a lot cheaper and more affordable. But yeah, I'll just try and do as much as possible by hand, just so I can go through the same pain with you, because it is tough. It is tough when you haven't got some of the more expensive tools. Yeah, as you see there, after I push down that first layer, it's not like you've started bending that metal, and it's not like you can re-anneal it with a stone in it. So the metal gets harder and harder as you go. So that's why I do that sort of skim the file around the top, because it makes the top wall a little bit thinner. But even now, this top wall is probably about 0.6, about 0.6 millimeter wide. So it just helps weaken that top layer as well. So then you see it makes it a lot easier for when I do like the second run. Sometimes I'll do a third and fourth. It really depends what the stone is, what the metal is. But any of these lower carat golds and silver can toughen up quick. I find the easiest ones to push over are 18 carat yellow and white gold, but the easiest of all I find is platinum. Even though platinum's hard wearing, it's quite a soft metal and it's lovely to set stuff with. So after I've got it all quite close, I will go round, just try and smooth it up as much as possible. Then I'll gradually go with the buff stick. The same as when you're actually holding the buff stick, you notice how quite often I'll have my thumb over the stone or to the side of it, so I can just get a good buff line around without damaging the stone. It's easy to buff in, like here I've got like my thumb in the way. I will do another video of how to actually correct stones. There's a certain tool that I've got that can polish a stone, or like cabochons like this, like sort of semi-precious stones. Nothing like diamonds or sapphires. It doesn't really touch those. But yeah, any questions at all, chuck down the bottom. I'll answer what I can, and at the end of this video there'll be a little preview of a garnet setting, which is going to be the next video, just trying to do a really basic bit of stone setting that hopefully anyone can pick up with the tools that they've got. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe for lots more videos like this, and I'll see you next time.